everyone in that small Wisconsin town warned me not to go near the ridge after sunset. But I thought they were just exaggerating the way rural communities sometimes do. They spoke about it with a seriousness that didn't match the beautiful view I saw on my drive-in. The sun was still up when I got there, so I felt confident nothing could possibly happen to me. I had arrived to photograph the fall colors, thinking the ridge was just another scenic overlook. The trees were glowing bright red and orange, the lake shimmered below, and the air smelled like pine and cold earth. Nothing about the place suggested danger or darkness. But every local I met, from the gas station clerk to the old man sitting outside the hardware store, said the same thing in their own way. "Leave before the sun goes down," they repeated, almost like a prayer. Their eyes always drifted toward the ridge as if remembering something they wished they could forget. One woman grabbed my wrist gently when I mentioned staying after dusk. Her voice trembled as she told me, "People hear things up there. Things that don't belong in this world." I laughed nervously, assuming she was joking, but her eyes carried no humor at all. Still, curiosity is its own kind of curse, and mine was stronger than their warnings. I told myself the stories were old legends meant to scare kids or keep tourists away from dangerous cliffs. I didn't consider that legends can be born from something real. The ridge trail wasn't very long, just a narrow path that wound through the woods before opening onto a wide ledge, overlooking the lake. The trees were close together, and the forest floor was covered with fallen leaves that crunched softly beneath my boots. A cold breeze brushed the back of my neck like a whisper. It was easy to forget the warnings when the forest looked so ordinary. Birds hopped between branches and distant waves lapped at the shore. If anything was haunting the ridge, it hid itself well in the afternoon light. I walked deeper into the woods until the sunlight began to fade behind the trees, turning the trail into long strips of gold and shadow. I checked the time and realized I had been wandering longer than I thought. The sun was beginning to dip lower. Instead of turning back, I hurried up the final stretch toward the overlook. The idea of watching the sunset from the highest point felt too tempting to resist. I told myself I would leave as soon as the sky turned dark. The overlook was breathtaking, with the lake stretching out like glass beneath the red sky. The town was visible on the far side, tiny buildings clustered together like toys beneath the glowing horizon. For a moment, everything felt peaceful. Then I noticed how quiet the forest behind me had become. The birds had stopped singing, the wind had stopped rustling the leaves, and even the distant sounds of the town faded. It wasn't natural silence, it was the kind that feels forced. A sudden chill crept up from the ground and wrapped around my legs. The trees seemed to lean inward, as if trying to listen to something I couldn't hear. The air felt heavier with each breath. I tried to shake off the uneasiness and took a few more photos, but the camera felt too loud in my hands. My heartbeat echoed in my ears like footsteps behind me. I turned around slowly, expecting someone to be there. No one was on the trail, but the shadows between the trees looked deeper, almost like they were pulling into shapes. The longer I stared, the more the darkness seemed to shift. I told myself it was just the fading light playing tricks on me. So I packed my camera and began walking back. The trail felt unfamiliar even though it was the same path I took earlier. The trees seemed closer together, their branches forming arches above me. As I walked, the faint sound of whispering drifted from somewhere behind me. At first, I thought it was leaves brushing each other in the wind, but there was no wind. The whispers were soft, like voices speaking through cupped hands. I stopped walking to listen more carefully. The whispers continued, slipping through the trees with slow, drawn-out tones that didn't sound like any human language I knew. They grew slightly clearer, almost as if they were reacting to my stillness. My pulse hammered in my throat as I tried to convince myself the sound was coming from animals or echoes. But then the whispering stopped all at once, replaced by a single long breath drawn in from behind me. It was unmistakably human. I spun around, raising my phone's flashlight, but the beam revealed only trees and darkness. The breath had come from close enough to touch me. I felt the cold air still lingering against the back of my neck. I started walking faster, almost jogging as the trail darkened further. The sun had fully dipped below the trees, and the forest took on a bluish, lifeless color. The ridge behind me felt like it was watching me leave. Then I heard something moving through the leaves off the trail. The steps were slow, deliberate, and matched the rhythm of my own. When I slowed down, the steps slowed too. When I stopped, they stopped. I aimed my flashlight at the trees, and the shadows between the trunks seemed to ripple like liquid. Something moved just out of range, slipping deeper whenever I tried to focus on it. The forest no longer felt empty. The steps grew louder as I tried to walk away, crunching through the leaves with a dragging sound like something heavy being pulled. My chest tightened and I could barely breathe. I knew then that whatever followed me wasn't worried about being seen. It wanted me to know it was there. I broke into a full run, desperate to reach the trailhead before complete darkness swallowed the woods. Branches snapped behind me, and the whispering returned, louder and sharper, swirling around me like a cold wind. It wasn't one voice now, it was many. My flashlight flickered violently, turning the trees into stuttering shadows. Each flash made the darkness behind me pulse like something was moving closer. The ridge seemed to stretch endlessly, refusing to let me reach the exit. Suddenly, the temperature dropped so sharply that my breath fogged in the air. A thick mist rolled between the trees, rising from the ground like smoke. The fog curled around my legs and pulled at my ankles like hands. Somewhere inside the fog, something breathed again, long, slow, and hungry. The sound vibrated through the trees and into my bones. I didn't dare look back. I stumbled onto a section of trail I didn't recognize, even though there should only have been one path. The trees seemed rearranged, creating a maze of twisting branches and narrow gaps. No matter how fast I ran, the path kept bending in new directions. Then, through the trees, I saw it, a figure standing perfectly still between two pines. It was tall, far too tall to be human, with shoulders almost brushing the branches above. The darkness around it clung to its body like a second skin. I froze, unable to look away as the figure slowly tilted its head to the side, as if studying me. Its movements were too smooth, too controlled, like a puppet guided by invisible strings. When it leaned forward slightly, the shadows stretched across the ground toward me. A low humming sound began to vibrate in the air around the figure. The sound wasn't coming from its mouth but from the forest itself, as if the trees were reacting to its presence. My legs trembled and refused to move. The figure stepped toward me with a sound like fabric tearing. The shadows rippled out from its feet like a dark tide. I forced myself to turn and sprint blindly through the trees, ignoring branches slashing at my arms and face. My lungs burned and every breath felt like ice. The whispering voices surrounded me again, overlapping and urgent, guiding me deeper into the forest instead of out. My vision blurred as cold tears streamed down my cheeks. Just when I felt like I couldn't run any farther, I saw a faint light between the trees. It flickered like a street lamp or a car's headlights. I ran toward it with everything I had left. I burst through the tree line and stumbled onto the gravel road leading back to town. A pickup truck was parked near the trailhead, headlights shining directly into the forest. An older man stood outside the truck, staring at me with a pale, grim expression. He didn't ask what happened, he already knew. His voice shook as he told me, "You should have listened. It doesn't like when people stay past sunset." He glanced behind me quickly, making sure nothing followed. I climbed into his truck, still gasping for air. He drove fast, never taking his eyes off the road, as if afraid slowing down would allow something to catch us. He refused to answer any of my questions until we were back within the safety of the town lights. When he finally parked, he turned to me with tired eyes. "People who stay after dark don't always come back," he said quietly. "Those who do, they're never the same." I didn't sleep that night, and I haven't gone near the ridge again. Even now, I sometimes hear that whispering when I close my eyes, soft and cold, like the beginning of a nightmare. I know something on that ridge noticed me, and I don't think it has forgotten. And if you ever visit that part of Wisconsin, remember this: when the locals warn you to leave before sunset, don't argue. They're not trying to scare you, they're trying to save you.